I'm Kristen Barta. I'm a postdoc at the University of Michigan School of Information. And today I'll be talking about a paper co-authored with Dr. Nazanin and Andalibi entitled Constructing Authenticity on TikTok, Social Norms and Social Support on the Fun app. So why authenticity? Well, scholars have argued that on social media, authenticity is a socially constructed artificial category that refers to effortless yet sincere presentations of self, in which such presentations are judged by others as authentic or not in a particular context. Online, authenticity has been associated with well-being and self-esteem, and the ability to sincerely present oneself and one's experiences has implications for how we seek, access, and provide social support online. So in this paper, we frame authenticity as a social norm and ask, how is the self-presentation norm of authenticity learned, enacted, and enforced by users on TikTok? How do the material features and affordances of TikTok inform authenticity as a norm? And what does the construction of authenticity on TikTok teach us about how to design social media spaces to facilitate the sharing of both positive and difficult emotions for social support solicitation and provision purposes? So a social norm is a socially constructed guideline that bounds what behavior is acceptable and unacceptable in a certain social group and context. Deviations from norms are often sanctioned through social judgment and disapproval from others. On social media, norms arise partly through social context, which is influenced by user interaction with material factors like privacy settings, connection or following mechanisms, and content modality. We use an affordance lens to better understand social norms through the eyes of TikTok users. Affordances are a useful means of assessing how users perceive a platform, including what one can do in that space, and for thinking about how norms form through interaction between platforms and users. We draw on an interview study in which we interviewed 15 frequent TikTok users. This paper presents findings from a secondary thematic analysis of those interviews. So in interviews, we asked about usage habits, participants' understanding and conceptualization of the app, practices for navigating the app and finding content, and perceptions of the algorithm and recommendation mechanisms. Following initial coding, we noticed that authenticity was an undercurrent in interviews, and we then developed themes around platform utility, features, affordances, and audience and network structure to better get at authenticity on TikTok. In the remainder of my time, we'll be highlighting some key findings from this paper. So in thinking about how authenticity is learned and enacted, we find that a just be you attitude serves as a guide for self-presentation and communicates a value for authenticity in TikTok content. In one sense, authenticity and just be you were associated with fun and finding that audiences responded to funny yet authentic stories and experiences. As participant one explained, I should just be me. That's what's fun. That's what people want to see. Another way that we saw Just Be You manifest was in emotionally raw content that often expressed difficult emotions and experiences. These experiences range from narratives about childhood trauma to expressing frustration after a bad day. Participants who observed this kind of content remarked that this was somewhat unique to TikTok. Participant 11, for example, said of TikTokers, they're sharing details, really intimate details, or just really personal things that had happened to them. Whereas on Instagram, people are a lot less personal. So this contrasts with the social positivity bias often observed on other platforms, where users tend to always share highlights of their lives and stifle difficulties. So what enables this type of sharing? Well, some participants expressed that the materiality of TikTok effectively lowered the stakes for emotional expression. We argue that the For You page algorithm, which shows users content similar to content they've already interacted with, differs from other platforms by privileging association between content rather than association between users. We also highlight how TikTok policies afford anonymity of oneself and one's audience by allowing pseudonymous usernames and the creation of multiple accounts. This led to a perception that one was speaking to an audience of strangers who couldn't really judge them. In combination, these features and affordances may change what people choose to share, as for one, people are a lot less worried about their friends seeing something they don't want them to. And for another, people perceive it possible or even likely that because of the algorithm, strangers who see their content might be similar to them in some way. Beyond these attributes, comments also appear to play an important role in social norms. So in the experiences of our participants, comments demonstrated that other users valued authenticity and encouraged authenticity in content. As participant 3 explained, when it comes to videos where I'm really trying to help somebody, you can see the actual emotion. And in the comments, they're like, we need to see more videos like this, because with the ones where you're trying to act, your awkwardness comes across. People prefer to see me as my real self, not as faking it or whatever. Participants also noticed that comments help them assess authenticity and inauthenticity. Participant 4, for example, related this experience. I've seen people post something really personal. I lost my brother. He was everything to me. He died. It was the 4 of us. And then it was fake. I am like, you gotta be kidding me. My heart was aching for it. And you go into the comments, it's like, this is fake. You should see his other page. I go into the comments and I make sure it's not fake. So these examples show that authenticity is valued and judged by other users on TikTok. These examples further demonstrate that emotional rawness, particularly the expression of difficult emotions, can fall within the normative boundaries of acceptable content on TikTok, provided that it's read as authentic. So connecting this to our final research question, we see evidence that emotional expressions judged to be authentic can be met with social support, again, offered via comments. As participant 11 explained, strangers can be so positive and uplifting, and sometimes they'll have similar life experiences. It's nice because they know nothing about your life. You can talk about this one specific thing and that's it. They can't judge you. So this example also intimates the roles of anonymity and association in social support on TikTok, as we discuss in more depth in our paper. So having said that, it's important to note that there are limitations to authenticity. One example is captured by participant 3, who recounted there was a girl that did a video where she was talking about being suicidal, and she is very known for clout chasing. And unfortunately, she was actually trying to do an actual video from her heart, expressing the need for help. But because she's known as a clout chaser, a lot of the comments were just, this is fake, this is clickbait, blah, blah, blah. She's not like that. So the implication of this example is that an influencer or clout chaser may not be able to be authentic in the eyes of their audience because of their reputation or identity. So with this in mind, we note 2 implications that I'll highlight here. In this paper, we identify a set of material features and affordances, including the For You page, association between content, video modality of TikTok, which we discuss in more depth in the paper, and anonymity of oneself and one's audience that enable a just be you attitude through which the authentic sharing of difficult emotions can be perceived as normally acceptable. This contrasts with other platforms and, as we show in our paper, potentially facilitates social support. We also identify the role that comments play in the communication, judgment, and enforcement of authenticity as norm. We see that constructions of authenticity may be further informed by social factors like reputation and identity. This raises questions about who gets to be authentic on social media and how norms like authenticity are shaped by other social normative standards. So building from this, we conclude with a question. How are norms like authenticity shaped by other normative standards that contribute to the marginalization and invalidation of certain identities and experiences? And centering norms, including how the materiality of the space contributes to norm development, and contending with norms like how norms like authenticity exclude others and exacerbate marginalization, this may ultimately help us to better develop digital tools for social connection and social support. So thank you for watching and enjoy CSCW 21.